Hello. In my opinion, there's a fundamental difference between studying and learning. Uh, Being able to speak a language is a skill that is acquired with time and by over time through trial and error. Do you remember the first time, for example, that you magically started to find your balance on the saddle of your bike? Well, riding a bike is more or less not exactly the same thing as language learning, but it is also a skill that you acquire by trial and error, by practicing as much as you can. I do remember that when I found after so many frustrating efforts, when I found my balance on the saddle of the bike, it was like magic, and I was like going around. So I was so happy. I could not actually fathom how I had finally managed to ride a bike. Um, I was very impatient and looking forward to it, so I remember very well. I remember very clearly that I was crying and I was telling myself I will never make it. And I do remember that my father told me just be patient and it will come. And it came, and it did come, and I was happy about it. Now, let's suppose that my father is actually an engineer, but let us suppose that he was very, very passionate about dynamics, about physics, and let's suppose that he had thought that the best way to teach me to ride a bike was through theory. Not only putting his own son on a saddle of a bike, but also trying to teach him how physics law some physics laws work. Now, I found an interesting piece on Wikipedia on dynamics of bike dynamics, how to find the balance in general. It's pretty long, but I'm just gonna read a small chunk. I got it here. The rider, for example, how to acquire, how to find the balance. This famous balance that made me so happy when I was seven or six. I don't remember exactly. It says here, the rider applies torque to the handlebars in order to turn the front wheel, and so to control lean and maintain balance. At high speeds, small steering angles quickly move to the ground contact points laterally. At low speeds, larger steering angles are required to achieve the same results in the same amount of time. Because of this, it is usually easier to maintain balance at high speeds. Now, there is no sane person um, who would actually teach their son how to ride a bike by giving them lectures on physics. That's true. Riding a bike is something practical. There is nothing, but there is no doubt about it. But um, well, riding a bike, swimming, driving a car is something everybody knows that it's practical. So there's no okay. There's driving a car maybe a little bit of theory, but in general, you acquire the skill by practicing. And the thing is that no matter how good and detailed my father's instructions and lectures in physics are, I will never ride a bike through that method. I will have to make mistakes and be patient and do it every day. Now, why am I talking about bikes here? Riding a bike and learning a language are two different things, but they're both, what they have in common is that, once again, it is an ability. Speaking a language, riding a bike is an ability that you acquire. It is not a subject that you study. Now, I think that the main problem within the school system, and I refer to every school system in every part of the world with very few exceptions, and at school, we are forced to study a language as we would study biology, history, geography, etc. But languages are not supposed to be studied. They're supposed to be seen as something acquired through practice, like playing soccer, for example. Um, it is not just a trivial disquisition on words. Study, learn, but that's more or less the same thing. Behind the word study and behind the word learning, there is actually a big difference, and big difference in the approach and big difference in the outcome. Now, I would like to tell you a story of two students. Let's suppose that they're Mark and John, these two American students, and they decide to they both get hold of a brand new language course. They're both happy and excited about it. They want to embark on their new language quest. Now, Mark, he's got a very analytical mind, so he thinks that the best way to learn a language is consider it like an object to study. He divides that into fragments, so to say. He thinks that by dividing it into sections, he can actually um, understand it more quickly. For example, what he does is he dedicates 1 hour to grammar, 1 hour to pronunciation, 1 hour to making lists of words, and more activities. He learns texts by heart. He thinks that's the best solution. He revises words, etc. He is treating a language exactly like you would treat geography, history. Divides things into sections, and I think this is not actually the best way. Now, let's suppose that John, on the other hand, he is conscious of the fact that learning a language means acquiring a skill. He always has that on his mind. And what he does is he delves into, he tries to find interesting content, interesting in that he can understand. He has a bilingual translation. He gets hold of Asimov book, for example. And he treats the language as a unicum, as a block. He doesn't divide things into pronunciation exercises, grammar, etc. He just reads and listens to interesting content a lot of times. And he considers that learning a language is done by absorbing it. He doesn't do any kind of rote memorization technique, nothing of that sort, no list. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that means to learn a language, to get it into you by exposure and by finding interesting content. Now, if you're still wondering what studying and learning, what the difference is between studying and learning, I just wanted to add that in 1996, it was my first self-study attempt, and was German. I was 15. I got hold of a dusty book. My grandmother, she was passionate about languages as far as well as my aunt, and I just decided to learn German the old-fashioned way. That is, I had previously never learned a language by myself, so I just learned French and English at school. Well, studied them actually. And so I thought that the best way was just to grab a grammar book and try to figure out the rules. After a couple of months, I was a little bit frustrated, and I told myself I'm never going to make it. Die, das, der, the verbs, it was complicated. And then I just found out that there was this De Agostini course, and I just apply my technique on it, the bidirectional translation. And what I did is just listen and read a lot, and I found it interesting because I was passionate about German. And then I was applying this technique, and I was not concentrating on grammar, on tables, on pronunciation. Everything was just one block. So I was using books, and I do advise and I do suggest people use books, but and I was deliberately learning, but not studying anymore. I was not studying anymore. I was not treating German like a subject. I was treating it. I was constantly. I was conscious of the fact that I was learning something by trial and error, and I was absorbing it, and that made a huge difference. And what also made a huge difference, and I will talk about it in another video, is that it is not just what you do, not only the actions that you perform, but also the time schedule. And the time schedule is extremely important. That means the time that you choose to make certain things instead of others. It is very important for words to stick in your memory. It's called una finestra temporale, time window, and I will explain what it means later. So thank you very much for listening to me, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye.